All right, we're gonna get started. Scott's gotta leave. This recording as well. They can have questions. Okay, cool. Let's go down the line. Introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your team and how long you've been in the business. Graham, you can start.
My name's Graham Smith. Our team name is the Graham Smith team, super creative. And I've been in the business 21 years.
Awesome.
Robin Voorhees with the Voorhees team, and I have been licensed since 2010.
Eric Peterson, Peterson and Co. Run a team of myself, 3 agents, a cyber backer, transaction coordinator, and marketing gal, and since 06.
Rick Brahma, the Brahma Real Estate Group. I've got a team of 4, business partner, director of operations, and then one other just selling agent. And I've been in the business for 24 years.
Jack Opendreyer, and I've been in the business since 2006 as well. Pretty exclusively do new construction. I have a build company called LDK Homes, and my real estate side of things is Lake and Luxury Group. LDK is a custom builder. We do 25 homes a year in Edina, Minneapolis, Lake Minnetonka, and all where people want to be.
Awesome. Next question I just want to ask is, what have you guys done? You obviously were picked for this panel because you're great at conversations. What have you done in the past to lead up to be able to be chosen for something like this, where you've practiced and almost made it second nature of what the conversations look like? If you have a system in place, share that. If you have scripting time, share that. I'll prompt you on some of your answers. We'll start with Scott on that.
I have been told many times I was born to sell. A lot of my career prior to getting into real estate was in the one call close business. I was a tin man. If you ever seen the movie Glenn Ross, where I walked into people's homes and either walked out with a check or they threw my briefcase out the front door. Up there, and that business I was very successful in. So overcoming objections and I need to sleep on it and all of those things, I became a master at. Letting people know that sleeping on my windows was very comfortable.
I did when I had my own brokerage for about 10 years out of Eden Prairie, and that was just a solo deal. It was a successful business, but I really transitioned a lot when I came to Keller. I started scripting with people like Dana Murray, Joe Cashmore, and Christy Kimbrell. If you ever talked to Christy and had a conversation with her, you know, she wins. So it was just really good time to initiate that, you know, scripting and just kind of going through. And it was nothing that was set in stone, so it was more open. So they would just come up with they'd propose some sort of objection, and we would just talk through it. And so that was a really good way to do it. The other thing is just getting out of your comfort zone. Volunteer for as many things as you possibly can, so that you are part of as many experiences as you can be, because that is going to be where you're a little bit uncomfortable, and you got to find a way to communicate through that. So
I think for me, it was continuous classes, right? I think all of us on the panel are probably serial learners, right? And so you always pick up nuances in every conversation that you have, along with not being afraid of being told no or having the door slammed in your face or epically effing up conversations and learning from it, right? So for me, it was just, you know, I've been to Bold 12 times. You know, Graham and I have been on teams together and on panels together and stuff, and having conversations like this, right, where you're actively handling objections and handling different strategies, talking through strategies, along with maintaining consistency in your daily routine. You know, our team still practices 2 days a week. You know, for the better part of the last 10 years, it was 5 days a week, right? So
When I was a baby real estate agent, I went and I did Mike Ferry coaching, and so I got KWs, objection handling scripts, Mike Ferries, and would go to all of these panels, would do all the things. And I felt like that was like making deposits, like, okay, that's the thing I can say, that's the thing I can say, that's the thing I can say. And so now I have this like bank of things I can say. And at this point, my main focus is on staying curious. And if I'm curious, then I'm fine. Everything kind of sorts itself out from there, both with the clients and big picture serial learning style.
Awesome.
Yeah, I agree with everything everybody said. I would say that when I was new in the business, I was always interested to learn from the conversations that didn't go the way I wanted to, the deals that didn't come together, or the representation contracts that didn't get signed. For some reason, I don't really ever remember anybody directing me in this space, but I do remember sitting down afterwards and kind of jotting down notes. I could have said this, I could have said that, and I kind of piecemealed scripts together and I would practice them. I'm not really sure where I got that because that wasn't really offered at the brokerage I was at. Now, when I came to Keller, which was a while back now, I just kind of came in with an open mind. Script practicing, these kind of things were not something I really did before. So I just came with an open mind. I joined Bold. I did Bold. And that was really the first time I started script practicing, and I haven't looked back. So from that standpoint, some of the scripts are adopted from things people have already written. Some are scripts we've created ourselves. But either way, we do practice with our team. Every single week, we do script practicing over the phone in the morning. And so it's like a muscle. You have to keep using it, right? The longer you're away from it, the harder it is, or the more stumbles you'll have with it. So one of the things that you find with script practicing and studying of any objections is, I don't care what you're selling, there's only a handful of objections. Every once in a while you get an outlier, but basically you're going to get the same objections. So coming up with objection handlers and being able to confidently and almost automatically at times respond, I mean, that's really what it is.
To that point, I would say one of the biggest ahas for me out of Bold was learning to decipher the difference between objections and conditions, right? Because really, when you boil it down, like you said, there really only are a few.
That's right. And I would say too, not to here to promote MAPS coaching, Bold, or anything like that, but you had mentioned Mike Ferry. Quite honestly, Mike Ferry's scripts, in my opinion, are awesome. I love Mike Ferry scripts. They're aggressive, they're great, they go after closing the deal on one time. I love that stuff. Bold brings another aspect into it, which is a lot of mindset setting as well on top of scripts, which I think for me was very helpful because sometimes I know all of us can find ourselves out of sorts with the challenges in the market and getting agitated. And that was what Bold really brought for me too. So practicing that kind of mindset management along with scripts is really important for me.
Well, and can I say this about, so I did Mike Ferry and I did that coaching and my business went down, straight downhill, it was noticeable. I was like, start paying for coaching, like business just tanks. And that's because I was doing it. I was all in. And do I look like I vibe with Mike Ferry ways of doing it? Like, was not even remotely being myself. And so I was out there hard sell, and I was close, but it was like, I'm gonna force you to work with me. Like, it was just terrible. And I actually, I quit coaching, but I had a contract, and I told my coach, I am paying for you to go out to lunch once a week for the next 4 months. Enjoy. And I'm not taking your calls. And my business, the moment I decided that's not me, and I decided to be myself, my business started going back up. So I think it's important to explore and actually be yourself though.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to that point though, is you can take any script and make it your own tone, right? But you still need the tie downs. You still need the right questions asked. It's just you do that differently with a different personality.
Yeah, you're not gonna win anybody over without authenticity. That's the key. That's the issue here, is that you can learn, you can be super skilled, but if you're not authentic, you're just a salesperson. And they're not hiring a salesperson, they're hiring somebody who can counsel them through the process.
They have to like you first before they do business with you, no matter what.
Absolutely.
So if you don't have a relationship, you don't have business.
So let's get into the objection. So I'm gonna ask you guys, what we were gonna do is I was essentially, if they were screwing up, I was gonna and just kick them out, because I really would enjoy that. But I'll ask you guys, do you want us to walk all the way through the objections? Do you want us to, it's a showdown, right? So this is where you guys get to pick, or we can judge them on how it was out of 10. What do you guys want?
I think we should close this out.
I'm in.
I mean, a long drive home.
For efficiency, not for
Do we
competition.
have a buzzer? Ring the bell when it's done?
Yeah,
I
why
know your
not?
ring on the table.
I mean, otherwise, how are we gonna cut us off from talking?
But I also like, someone's gotta raise their hand and I like, so it's not just on me. I mean, I have no problem doing that, but maybe you're getting value out of it, so. All right, who wants to start? We're gonna go through appointment objections first.
Setting an appointment?
Setting an appointment, yep.
Choose.
I'm not gonna choose. They're gonna raise their hand right now.
Go first.
All right.
Sell, but my spouse is.
Yeah.
I'm ready to sell, but my spouse isn't.
Okay, awesome. That is so great. Would it be valuable for you to sit down and get clarity on what selling would even look like so that the two of you can have a more meaningful conversation about it? Because right now might be throwing things starts in the dark.
Yes, but every time I bring it up, he gets agitated.
Okay. Are you comfortable if we're all agitated together and explore why?
She's like, no, I am not.
I avoid talking.
Okay, so is that something, would you be comfortable if I called your husband and just brought it up and just explored? Because a lot of time that agitation comes from a lack of clarity. I have found that with most of my clients.
Absolutely take away the discomfort. So
I'll give them a buzz.
Awesome.
Agitated together, money.
Can we be agitated together? Absolutely, we can be. Come on over, Robin. All right, Rick, you're next. I already have an agent I plan to work with.
Okay, I can appreciate that. I think it's really good for you to, I think it's good for anybody to interview more than one realtor. Can you tell me a little bit about why you chose that realtor?
Oh, yeah, it's a friend of mine.
Friend of yours, okay. The nice thing is, you get to choose obviously who you work with. And this is a really, really important decision. So you want to pick the highest level professional that you possibly can. Not to say that your friend is not, but I would encourage you to at least consider doing a meeting with me and seeing what I might do that's a little bit different. That way you then can make a decision. Okay, I want to continue to work with my friend, but I got some new ideas from Rick on how things are done differently. And I can talk to that person about whether they're willing to do that or not. And let's just keep the lines of communication open between us, but at least gives me an opportunity to spend some time and show you what I can do and how I will do things differently than your friend will. Because I do things differently than all of the realtors in the business. And then it might give you an opportunity to go back and understand, if they are really the best person for you.
I'm gonna be really direct. Rick I'm just gonna use the price. So if you wanna come over, I just want to
Gonna do what?
use you for your price. I just wanna know what you'd list my house at, but I'm definitely going with my friend.
Okay, yeah, that's not a problem. I don't mind you doing that either. I'll come over. I will do thorough research for you. And when we meet, I will give you all the information that you're looking for. And if you want to maintain the idea of working with your friend, I have no problem with that. I do this every single day. And I'm willing to take the time and the energy to meet with you. I think you're a really nice lady. We've gotten along thus far. And I just like an opportunity to sit down with you and run through it. And if I can provide you something that's beneficial, I'm going to do it because that's my job.
Okay.
My goal is to get the meeting.
Okay.
When I'm there, I'm just telling, I will convince you when I'm there.
Should I push on that? Okay, do that same thing. I'm gonna use you for your price.
I'm just gonna use you for your price.
Okay, may I push back on that a little bit?
Sure, if you'd like to.
If you're planning on using somebody, why wouldn't you trust them on their price?
I just really want a second opinion.
Okay, but then would you want a second opinion on everything?
Maybe, yeah, I mean, I could hear you out.
Okay.
I would ask, what's more important to you, price or value?
Okay,
I would get in the door.
okay. Okay,
She
Awesome.
basically didn't tell me that I'm not coming over, so I'm.
Right. I get the
yeah,
appointment.
okay. I think all of them are good.
They are.
I mean, I think all of those are great approaches. Okay.
I will point out in these two specifically, the first step was not answering the objection. The first step for both of them was acknowledging with the consumer that the objection exists, right? And that validates the objection because everybody wants to look good and be right. So by acknowledging the consumer or end user understands it and feels heard.
So that scenario, is that like a phone call?
With a phone call, yeah.
I would probably say that it's a good idea that if you get two knuckles up right on the phone with them, then it's very easy for them to do this, versus you have a better opportunity to kind of knock those balls down.
Well, and to be fair, these are not like warm leads that you got from a friend, right? This is whether or not you're cold calling or you don't, they came into an open house. What? I'm like, huh? Okay, who's next? All right. I want to cancel my appointment. I want to sell, but I just don't want to sell right now.
I understand. I've heard that before from other people that I've called. Do you have a reason though as to why why you changed your mind?
Yeah, I just don't think the market's good right now, and there's a lot of things I need to do in my house that I don't want to take on right now.
One of the things I've heard that a lot with what people have projects on their house that they want to take on. And as a professional real estate agent, what I would love to do for you is come out and of those projects that you're going to take on, I'd like to give you a professional real estate opinion on what those projects should or shouldn't cost. And number two, what would bring you added value and what will actually not bring you added value. So you don't spend money where it's going to actually not pay off, and just take a look at those things. Would you mind if I do that?
What is that going to cost me?
For me to come out, doesn't cost you anything. It's on my time this time, and I would come out and basically probably take half hour to 45 minutes, go through your house, go through the list of modifications or updates that you want to make, and then I'll get back with you as to what the home would sell for currently, and then what it would sell for with those additions.
It seems really stressful, and I just don't know if I want to take that on right now. I mean, that seems very overwhelming. There's a lot going on. So
Really stressful.
knowing that there's probably a long list of things, and I just don't know if I have time. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Sorry, I misunderstood. I thought that you said you had the list already of things that you want to do to the home.
Yeah, no, I don't. I think I know that there's a lot of things. I just,
Okay.
it seems super stressful for
And
me.
do you have a person in mind to do these things,
No,
or?
I don't.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just
so
to
now you're
make-
adding more stress because I feel really stressed now.
Here's the cool. I've got a big list of investors that buy homes like yours so that people that they don't have to go through the headaches and the stress of getting these projects taken care of. They're going to basically write you a check for the home as it is now. And sometimes that's a easier and safer and quicker, less stress way to get out of your home and move on to something that you enjoy better.
I mean, if you have that, I'd be interested in that for sure.
Great. Does tomorrow at 1 work?
No, probably on Monday.
Perfect.
All right. What do you guys have? Yeah.
So, look, yeah, I hear you completely. It's a busy time of the year. And let me ask you,
Which part? Are we all the way at the beginning where I want to sell later?
well, you want to cancel, right?
Yep. Okay.
Okay. And remind me again, your goal was to get to the lake house by sometime next year, right?
Yes. Yep.
And you told me when we were on the phone originally that provide you a level of comfort, be able to sell the cabin and just consolidate and be at home, being able to take your kids to practice and not have to worry about all the other stuff, right?
Yeah, you're right.
And what would that do for you and your family?
I'd be really happy. I'd really be happy at the lake house.
Really, really happy. So Kami, let me ask you this. If the very perfect house that offered everything that you wanted came up next week, inclined to take a look at it.
Yeah, but I gotta sell this house first.
Exactly. And that's why we should meet, so that we have clarity around the process to get you there in the future.
Yeah, that was good.
That was
really
good.
Yeah.
Okay, you did.
I think piece of that was bringing back to
Down.
motivation. Yep.
He went to this hypnotizing.
I like comfort. To be fair, that wasn't fair. You knew that I would be like, yes, I want to leave.
Brahma can help.
I was actually gonna say, you don't sound like a very nice woman, so thanks for
Thank you for the call.
Very nice.
enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, next. Who's next? All right. I heard that the market is a hot seller's market. I'm gonna just do it on my own.
Oh, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. If you can sell your house on your own, you could potentially save yourself a lot of money. Let me ask you this. Do you have a buyer in mind already?
Actually, my neighbor has a friend that wants to move into the neighborhood, and she said that she was interested in it. So
That's fantastic. Have you had an opportunity to have a conversation with them yet?
No, my neighbor just kind of told her what the house was and, potentially what we want to sell for.
Well, I would tell you this, we have a sliding scale compensation on our agreement whenever we represent a seller that allows for these carve outs. If you do have a buyer that you've talked to before we came to the table, we have a completely different compensation schedule that's going to allow you to save up to money. I'd be happy to show that to you. Are you available tomorrow at 1 o'clock or would the next day at 3 o'clock work best?
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, our market is so hot. I mean, we live right in Morningside. Everybody wants to be there. I could put a sign in the yard and I'm guessing it would be sold in probably a day.
I totally understand. And you're right, your market is a hot market. You must pay very close attention to that.
Oh, yeah, we talk all the time.
Sure.
Everybody in our neighborhood.
What I would say is this, a lot of times when I hear somebody saying that they're looking to sell their house themselves, it's because they want to take the highest net dollar out of the transaction. Is that what's going on here too?
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably. Yeah.
I don't blame you at all. Now, if I could show you how my team and I can, we can do all the work. We can find all the buyers. We can look into all the buyers' financing to make sure they're actually qualified. We can do everything to get you to closing and put more money in your pocket than you could yourself. Would you at least want to have a half-hour conversation with me?
I mean, how do you know that you're going to be able to do that?
Well, that's exactly why we should get together. That's what I'm going to show you. And then at least you can take away from that conversation if you feel comfortable moving forward with us or doing this on your own.
Okay.
Okay, great. Does tomorrow at 1 work or the next day?
Tomorrow once. Got
Do you, so can I ask you, say yourself, do you have a price obviously in mind? Do you,
yeah, 1.5.
okay, and how did you arrive at that price?
Well, my neighbor sold for 1.2 and ours is much better.
Okay, and that sold when?
About 6 months ago. And the market's only gotten better. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The market is definitely very, very good. Would you mind if I actually just come out there and verify your numbers so that you don't undersell? I mean, obviously you think in 1.5, what if the opportunity was 1.6? You don't want to undersell. As a professional real estate agent, I can give you the today, up to date, not 6 months ago, current value of your home and take it or leave it. Obviously, if it's 1.6, you know you didn't give up $100,000 your home. If it's 1.4, you know that your 1.5 might be off the mark and you don't want to be off the mark for too long.
you know, I've heard this from so many agents. I mean, I know we just want to come out and try to get the listing, right? So I mean, why do you want to come into the house then? You just want to give me the price? Is that right?
It's actually, I actually represent both buyers and sellers. So I'd love to come out to the home because I do have a team that we're always representing buyers that are looking in your area because it is a very, very good area. So I'd love to come home and at least get my eyes on it. So if I've got any buyers that could potentially put you in a multiple offer situation, would you prefer to have that versus just one buyer?
Yeah, I mean, do you have a $1.5 million buyer right now?
You know, without seeing your home, I don't know that I don't know.
I mean, do you have a buyer that might be qualified in that price point right now?
I personally don't, but I've got a team of agents that I work with that I would definitely go around to if I can get out there and take some pictures and get a better understanding what your home is.
Yeah, sure. You can come out for 15 minutes and just take a look to see if you have, a buyer for that.
Can I play with this one
We
too?
all want to play with this one.
They're all like,
No, so this is one where when I'm hearing this dialogue, this is like, I'm not gonna change her mind on this.
well, let's be fair. This is the seller that doesn't trust real estate
And
agents. That's the big piece.
Right,
Like,
that's
what are you
fine.
gonna do for me?
So I wanted to share that I'm not gonna take I can do it better than you approach, I'm like not even going there. So I'm gonna be like, oh, cool, you're gonna sell it yourself. Where are you moving?
Oh, yeah. So we're probably gonna move out to Wayzata.
Okay, awesome. Who's representing you on that end?
We are just probably gonna buy it on our own, I'm guessing, or go into an open house.
Okay, so would it be valuable to sit down and talk about, like, I understand you're gonna sell your Morningside place and I live in Morningside, so like, you're right, Morningside's hot, I totally get it. And so's Wayzata. And it's gonna be super important for you to be networked with somebody who's gonna get you opportunities that are potentially off market, as well as you need to be poised. Because just being honest, on the buy side, it's really hard to pull it off alone right now. You're really gonna need an agent. And so would it be valuable to sit down and we can meet at your house if you will, but I don't need to, or we can meet at Cafe Sarah's.
Okay.
And then
I mean, because that piece, I feel like someone would be like, yeah, you have value that you can help me get a house. And then you'd
I
probably.
know, it's like,
afterwards.
I have no I'm not gonna try to be righter than somebody. Right, that's fine. When it doesn't sell, then we'll have a relationship and I'll sell it.
Yeah, I am.
You're gonna be righter.
Rick is like definitely taking her off.
Yeah, so we have, so this is just a
I'm
different
right.
perspective, and that's why we're here to share. We have a job for a reason, and I
Are you
believe,
talking to me right now?
I'm talking to you and
Okay.
everyone, well, I'll talk to you in a second, okay?
I know you role play.
I was like, are we role playing right now?
We have a job for a reason. And if you trust and believe that you are valuable to people for a reason, then you gotta trust and believe that you're valuable to people for a reason. Do I think that it's in Kami's best interest to sell her house by herself? I do not. I believe that it's in her best interest to hire a very high level realtor who can do proper marketing, proper pricing, proper negotiations, proper attraction of buyers that is going to draw her multiple offers. Kami, that is going to draw you multiple offers. So what my ask is to you is just allow me an opportunity to come over to your house and to explain to you how I might be able to do that, how we might be able to, and other realtors are going to be able to do that. And then you can decide if you still want to sell it on your own. If you don't want to sell it on your own, you just learned a whole lot of really helpful information from you that might help you, regardless of what choice you decide to make. But
Do you
I
bring your
want
marketing plan with then? I mean, will I know how you're gonna market the property?
100%. I'm going to bring a marketing plan that's going to identify this is what I'm going to do. Now, what I know is that the things that are on my marketing plan, she can do maybe 10% of them. The rest of them she can't, because I know the marketing plan, so there's going to be an awful lot of things that she's going to see that she can't do. And that's critical. There has to be things that homeowners can't do that we do. I moved from Envision Real Estate, my own brokerage, to Keller because I was limited with what I could do for my sellers. My sellers didn't have anything that I had for Envision, and they certainly don't have the majority of stuff that I have available to me from Keller Williams.
So
Eric.
what I would have said is, Kimi, you said your house is worth you think it's about 1.5, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So can I share a few stats with you that I just want you to be aware of as you venture into this uncharted territory?
Sure.
So, statistically, for sale by owners, this is nationally tracked by the National Association of Realtors, which is one of the most powerful lobbying groups in the country. It takes 6 to 10% less than if they would have gone to with a real estate agent. Additionally, our team has an average list price or sale price to list price ratio of 103%, which means we're selling for over market value. So if we just take, let's just say 10%, right, on the low end, plus 103%, we've got a differential of about 13%. Now, Kami, if you're making the decision, are you willing to risk 13% of 1.5 million, which equates to how much is it?
Over 180.
Are you willing to risk 180,000 by not having proper representation?
Oh, man, Eric, I think that's a little exaggerated. I mean, when I really want to think about it, I mean, that seems like a lot. Plus, I mean, let's just put your fee in there, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a percentage of,
Sure is.
whatever.
Sure is.
Yeah.
And we've talked a little bit, you've seen our pre-listing packet, right? Because we've sent that already.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
We've talked a little bit about some of what our team does for you, right?
Yeah.
The additional things that we don't mention are the liability that we take on. Because the reality is that 90% of all lawsuits, real estate transactions happen when one or both parties is unrepresented by a professional.
Yeah, my husband's a lawyer, so we kind of have that part covered. But I mean, I hear you. I think you're a great agent for sure.
And so let me ask you this, when you start to market your home, are you looking for one buyer or are you looking for all the buyers?
I'm looking for one to buy the house.
You're just looking for one?
Yeah.
And so if we had a plan that could generate multiple buyers who were willing to bid above what you were asking for the home, would that pose a problem for you?
No?
So it sounds like it would make sense for us to at least show you what our team does to get an average list price or sale price to list price of 103%, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be willing to listen to how you do that. Okay, what did you guys see from all of those?
The way it doesn't help very much that your husband's a divorce attorney. This is real estate.
We're going there, right? You guys are all, now we're moving on to listing objection. Who wants to start with this? Eric, do you want to start?
I haven't talked much, I'll go.
Okay. I'm thinking about listing with an agent. So this is like, we're in the listing presentation. So, thank you, Graham, but I had an agent that was gonna charge less. So I feel like we're gonna go with that person.
Okay, I understand that. I can appreciate that. Just out of curiosity, with respect to what they were offering for the marketing plan, how do both of our marketing plans compare here?
I mean, yours is obviously a little bit more extensive, but what I'm seeing is, again, days on market, both of you kind of said it's 1 to 2 days. And I think a lot of those buyers come from, what do you guys call it? Multiple listing, whatever the service is.
Sure,
in Zillow.
That's absolutely
Yeah.
fair point. So at least we can say there's a slight differential, at least in the marketing plans from what you've seen so far.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. Now, on that other agent's plan, did they share their list price to sale price ratio with you?
No, I guess I didn't know if I was supposed to ask that.
That's okay. That's fine. If you look at the page I gave you here, you can see that we have an average list price to sale price ratio going back 21 years. That's just about 99.5%. And you know what that means? That means that we accept on average 99.5% of the original list price. And when you look back over that same amount of time and you look at the MLS, the average is about 94 to 95%. So on average, we've historically taken 5% more than the other average realtor. And from what you're telling me about the marketing plan and everything else, I can assume that the other agent is average and that on average, we're going to get 4 or 5 points higher than that agent. So what was the price differential on what they were charging?
Wow, you've been in the market for 20 years.
That's right.
That's a long time. I don't remember what they said. I don't remember.
That's fair. Well, one of the things I would say too, and maybe this is something you'd find value in. If you turn the page on our listing paperwork here, and you'll see that we have a sliding scale compensation schedule. And this is really designed to benefit you as our consumer.
Graham, I don't mean to interrupt, but 7.5, that's a lot. I mean,
We
the
don't charge
lowest
that.
that you go is, that's a lot.
Yeah, so our typical listing commission that we charge is 3.8%. And that's what we charge on our side. That pays us, that pays Keller Williams, and it allows me to pay my staff a fair living wage. Now, we will offer out an additional 2.7% to the company representing the buyer. When you look, and that'll be commensurate with the market, that's about what everybody.
So you have to do that. So you don't really, it's actually more than 3.3.
We charge 3.8.
Oh, okay.
And then there's an additional 2.7. So it comes to 6.5. That's the top dollar you would ever pay working with us. And one of the things we built in there, I'm giving away too much. One of the things we built in there is, now that you're up against me.
Is it only 3.8, Graham?
Now that, one of the things we built in there, every once in a while, one of our clients will be integral in bringing a buyer. Either they've talked to a neighbor, they've talked to a friend or family member, they found somebody that was interested in the home. We ask you to bring that person to us, and as long as they're unrepresented, we're gonna waive that 2.7% and only charge you 3.8.
So if I bring a buyer,
Or introduce us to somebody.
okay,
Yeah.
you're not gonna take the whole percentage.
We'll take 3.8%, that's right.
Okay.
We waive the 2.7. Now, that person has to be unrepresented,
Okay.
because otherwise they'd want.
What if I just don't want to pay the 2.7%?
That would be fine. There's actually nothing obligating you to do that. Here's what'll happen in reality, though. None of the agents are gonna bring their clients.
Can't you just take it out of yours?
Well, that wouldn't leave enough for us to do business, and I'm sure the other agent was charging 1%.
I mean, they said they were gonna do it for 4.5.
Sure.
So I mean, if they're paying out they're making similar.
Sure. Can I let you in on a little secret?
Sure.
This is something that we talk about. We're having a great dialogue here. It seems like we're getting along well. I'm gonna let you in on this. There's something in our business called discount brokers. And I don't know if you ever heard that term.
Yeah, I have.
Typically speaking, their value proposition is the lower commission. That's where their service starts and ends, right? They offer the lower commission. And there's a place for that in the wholesale market.
Can we cut?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like at this point, this is where you're like, is the commission important or is your net important?
Sure.
This would be a great spot to
Well, are
like.
you
'cause-
scripting?
No, but I have that. But you know what I mean? Like if they're hitting, and I think this happens a lot, right? Where they hit its commission and they're obsessed with commission. It's not the commission. Like, so bring it back to that piece. Can we try that?
You could totally do
Okay,
that.
cool.
And we'll
Alright.
continue on the path I was going. So, with that being said, it sounds like at the end of the day, you want to take the highest net out of this, the highest net dollar amount out of this transaction as possible.
Well, yeah, that's why I want to save money, right? Like I want to.
I already said that, but anyway, we'll say it again if we have. I want to be the same script on everything.
I get the value gap.
Yeah, right? So you want to take the highest dollar amount out of this transaction possible,
Yeah.
is that correct?
Yeah.
I can totally appreciate that.
I
And
mean, I'm
that-
using every ounce to buy my next house.
I totally appreciate that. And that's exactly why we do what we do, because the marketing that we put into place, I am 100% confident we're going to be able to get a higher net dollar than that other agent, even after our commission. And here's why. Here's why.
Can you guarantee that?
I can almost guarantee it, and I'll tell you why. This is probably, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is probably the most expensive asset that you own. Am I correct?
Yeah.
How are you possibly going to feel comfortable hiring somebody to negotiate the most expensive asset you own? They couldn't even sit here today and negotiate their own commission.
Good point. Good point.
Why don't you do this? Let me ask you this. I would never stand in the way of a transaction. If we get to the market, things aren't going the way they are, we can have a conversation about this and see if there's some places we can shave around the margins. Give myself and my team the opportunity to earn this commission and show you what we can do. And you have the unilateral right to cancel with us at any time in our contracts if you're unhappy with our service. Is that fair?
Yeah, how would I, yeah, can we write that in though?
Is
That I
actually
can,
already written?
okay. Sure.
Perfect. Good, thank you.
Yeah.
Unilateral, you're so diplomatic.
Unilateral?
I did notice something, when Graham said to you that, acknowledge that we're having a nice conversation, you just completely lit up. Did anyone else notice that? She's like, oh, that's so nice, because, because here we are, we
Just I knew it's full of shit.
you didn't work anyway, you smiled and. Funny. There is a point, though. There's a point outside of that, I think is really, really important. We go in with the intention of showing that we have value to them, right? That's our goal. Like, we want to show that we've got value to them. But what does every single human being need and desire more than anything else? To feel significant, to feel value, right? It's a sense of significance and a sense of value. Don't forget that you got to say something to that person that you're meeting with that acknowledges that you respect them, that you acknowledge them, that they are valuable, that they are important to you. Because that is going to dramatically change the attitude, make it a lot easier for the rest of the conversation. So, even though you thought it was BS.
Oh, just one thing I'd add to it is that if are you that other person with the discount brokerage or whatever, have they been in the house yet? And I would just add to it, can I ask you, a question? In the marketing plan that person put forward and what you've seen here today from me, do you see a difference?
But yeah, I think that piece, you could have went there too. We're like, what do you want me to take off our marketing plan? If you want me to
That's what's going, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, do you see a difference? Well, yeah, you definitely have a lot more in marketing. Okay, which part of my marketing would you like me to remove so that I can get there? Because obviously to be where I'm at, that's why I'm where I'm at, is because of the marketing they put in place. So what part of this marketing plan do you want me to take off and not use to capture the best dollar for your home?
Yeah.
I go, well, no, I want it all. Well, that other person wasn't offered you at all. So now you're going to go with them and you're going to miss a whole bunch of stuff that I've shown you, because I'm guessing they don't have access to that, or they would have showed it to you.
You tee that up, right? Like I do all the time. So we have 3 different plans that people can choose from. Most other agents, they just give you a number and they say it arbitrarily. They're not offering you a plan that you choose.
That's right.
He's got 6 more minutes. Hit
I
him.
got, I'm gonna,
Hit him with one.
Okay, I need time to think about it.
need time to think about,
Listing with you.
okay? And, in the time thinking about, obviously, the information I've given you today, what part of it is, do you have questions on?
I just don't know if I feel comfortable right now. I mean, I don't know.
Myself or the marketing plan that I'm showing you, or the price?
I think it's the price. And I really feel like our house is worth a little bit more. So I don't know if I feel comfortable.
So listing at the price you we can certainly list your home at any price and the price that you'd like to list it for. What I showed, the information I gave you today was basically what the overall market is showing your house to be worth. And I'm not gonna here to tell you that your house couldn't sell for a bigger dollar. What we found is in the market that we're in, multiple offer situation, your home will capture every dollar that it is worth, because we'll get into most likely when we put the right marketing plan in place and list your home at a price that definitely looks very, very competitive in the market. If your home obviously shows as well as I think it does, it's very, very likely that we get into multiple offers and somebody is willing to pay you every dollar that you're worth. Positively, once we get that offer, we have the opportunity to obviously counter offer any offer that we get. So, when we get that offer, we can go back to them and say, hey, here's what we'd like to do. Like you guys to have the home, but we'd like to get this, or this, whether it be price or the timing or whatever works for you. We have that opportunity.
And I think the price piece, we did a lot of work on this house
I
and
can see.
I just, I love everything, the granite, the built-ins, I want you to love it and be able to sell it, really portray all of the amazing things that we've done in the home. And I want to feel that piece of it, right? And I'm like, sometimes I think you just kind of threw a number out there, so I don't feel super comfortable because we're not like the other houses on the street.
Absolutely positive. I'm going to use some of my secrets so that everybody else can hear, like Graham used some of his secrets. So I appreciate that. And remember what we talked about when I list homes, if at all possible, it's my goal to be there to actually show your home to every single potential party that's going to want to see your home. So I can actually point out the things that you've pointed out to me that are very, very valuable, and the things that are definitely you feel that your home has that some of these other homes don't. Has any other agent offered you that?
No, but they did offer me those tents, it's like, ooh,
Okay.
built-in.
And I don't know.
Do you do that? Do you point out those things like they did? Because that made me feel really special that they saw that, we spent so much money on that built-in.
Yeah. And so you think a tent is going to be a better way of getting.
And he goes for it.
Well, you is going to be better.
I just want to make sure that that's pointed out, right, to the buyers, because that cost at least 20,000. So
Absolutely. What we don't want to miss is we don't want to miss the opportunity to get the showing. So by listing too high, what we found as a market is we've missed showings. If we list at a number that's higher than what the market is saying, we may miss buyers. We want to get them in the door so that I can, between myself and their agent, obviously sell them on your home. And I totally agree with you. There is a ton of unbelievable selling features in your home that I believe will capture you a better dollar amount than the market is saying, because your home, in my personal opinion, does show better than some of the homes I've shown in this price category.
Can I be Scott for just 1 second? I want to be you, okay, because of your background. How many years have you been building?
18.
I mean, the other thing that is unique about the potential for you hiring me is that I'm not just a realtor who's been selling homes, but I've been building homes for 18 years. It's highly improbable that there's going to be anybody who's going to understand and appreciate the things in this home that you got and be able to explain that to buyers. Why is it important that you got Marvin Integrity windows? Why is it important that you've got timberline shingles? No one's going to talk about your roof or slate or cedar or whatever it is, right? This level 8 granite that you picked here is extraordinary.
Oh, I like that level 8.
Everybody picks what, so he's gonna go through and he's gonna kill it because he's gonna know more than anyone else.
I think that is important, right? Because people do, they love their house, right? And how many times do we go in and we don't really look at it the way that they see it? But that's great. That's a great point.
One other quick point, and this is to avoid that question, the question that you asked him in the first place. Okay, so at the very end of the listing appointments, we ask 2 questions. And this is how it gets pitched. It's, obviously, I appreciate you having me here. I've been talking the entire time. And now, if you don't mind, I'd like to give you an opportunity to talk. I've just got 2 simple questions for you and for your husband. Oftentimes you guys will answer differently, and that's fine. So the first question is, when you're choosing a realtor, what is it that's most important for you in choosing a realtor? And she says, oh, I want someone I can trust, and he says, I want somebody who's got super detail oriented, just gets the job done, right? So that would be the answer. And I'll explain why these are important. So that's the first one.
Post my answer on that one.
Thank you, thank you. I just don't want to take too much time on it. I just want to get it out there,
Yeah.
right? And so the second question is, now that we've had this opportunity to meet, is there any reason why you would choose not to work with me?
And then I say what I said to him.
Whatever you say, because really it's like, you know, why are you gonna, if you say, I need time to think about it, well, you're gonna answer the question.
Well, and maybe
If people don't answer that question, they're like, I'm not gonna answer that. They're gonna say, well, the reason why I might not work with you is because I.
Okay, so let's play that out, because usually it's not, I need time to think about it. That's not the answer. Do you have any other objections, right? So I could say, you know what, we need to talk about this. We need to discuss this tonight. Because I can tell we don't feel the same. So that's why we need time.
Well, me? Yeah, okay. I don't wanna take too much.
Okay, Eric.
Usually in this situation, Kami, when someone tells me that they need time to think about it, it's because there's a question that's gone unanswered. Now, you know, from all of our process and what we've shown you here today, is there something that maybe another agent said that they do that we probably already do, but forgot to mention?
Yeah, if you can't get them off the need for time, then you gotta move to the next thing.
Yeah.
Well, the next thing would be this, in my opinion, the next thing, if I was stuck there and I didn't want to push you any further, if I was you and I didn't want to like completely push you over like Grant, then this is what I would, this.
Grant.
Graham, sorry. Graham, yeah, well, not Graham, Grant, another guy, yeah, Grant. Then I would identify the next time. I would say, okay, I appreciate that. I think it's very, very good that you and your husband want to get on the same page. This is going to be something where the three of us will be working together, and it's stressful enough to move when you're married and keep the marriage together and everything work okay.
I still come back to that every time.
Especially for you, Amy. And so maybe a few zingers. And so what's important is that I can appreciate that. Can we talk about what's going to happen next? So in other words, at the very least, can we have a phone conversation tomorrow at 10 a.m.? Or better yet, can I come back here with coffee and bagels tomorrow and we can talk through what you guys decided to do? Yeah, and if you decided not to hire me, that's fine. This has been a great conversation. We've really
So
got.
question on that, why don't you have them sign and say you're gonna keep it? Because that, in my opinion, that allows me to call tomorrow morning or later in that evening and be like, you know what, don't come over tomorrow, because we decided, I mean, that gives the out,
Sign in.
like, sign the listing agreement, right? And say, hey, how about we sign and then tomorrow we reconvene, right? Versus, I feel like I would cancel in that moment if I had doubts already. I'd cancel that appointment in the morning if I was a seller. Personally.
So here's what I would do in that.
I don't know, would you guys do that or?
Yeah, I totally would. So here's what I want to do. I want to show you everything that we're going to be signing, right? Because there's this barrier of, oh shit, we're going to sign this big, huge document and we're not going to really know what's going on. And so then I would just walk through it and I would say, okay, these are all of the forms that we would send to you to sign electronically. Before you sign, I just want you to make sure that you know everything that you're signing, so we're in a good relationship to move forward. I take you through all of the forms individually. Say, now we have a couple of options here. I can come back and sign this. I can send it to you electronically, or do you have any questions on this paperwork here as it stands, or have I explained it to you?
No, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. We've kind of talked through most of it.
Perfect. So now that you know what you're going to be signing, it sounds like your time is pretty valuable, right? You have soccer practice in the morning, you have 74 kids, you have a husband who's going to be gone fishing. Let's do this. Let's get everything signed. And if you call me tomorrow and say, Eric, we changed our mind, I will tear that contract in half and I will send you a picture of it to your cell phone. But if you're as confident as I am in our ability to sell your home and get you top dollar, you're going to be go for lunch and we'll start marketing your home.
I like that.
Yep.
I like that. People, you have it. They're committed in some form, right? They're committed at some point. I like.
You've like, you like dip their toes in the water for them by showing them everything that they're going to
So
see.
you've got the, we want to think about it, we want to sleep on it. That's good. What I really like about that is you isolated the objection. You asked, you said, a lot of times when we hear this, it's a question that we didn't answer. Is there anything there? So you isolated the objection, just found out they want to sleep on it, and you go for that signature at that moment. You can always, if you get any pushback on that, you can always say something about the idea that this is exactly how we're going to deal with buyers for your home as well. We follow up on every lead and we're very persistent in how proactive we are in getting buyers to choose your home over the other homes. Isn't that what you're hiring us for? You can go through that, but there are some other objections why they would want to leave or not make that decision that day, right?
Yeah.
What are some of the other ones?
There's a risk. There's a risk in this, okay? And the risk is that we know that it is human nature for human beings to go away from something negative with significantly amount more energy than they are towards something positive. And so the only risk with getting somebody to sign and you signing it and be like, oh, did we really make the right choice here? And that was really a little bit too much pressure, a little bit too.
They're not gonna sign though. If they are having that feeling, they're gonna opt to just hold off until tomorrow.
Or it's
You let
it's a coin flip.
Yeah.
But I would say this, if you've had the proper conversation, the proper dialogue's taken place and built rapport, the pain of them telling you no will be greater than the pain of them telling you yes. And that's what you're trying to
If
do,
it's good, yeah.
is that rapport, so that they feel painful saying no to you and they feel comfortable signing. It's why I highly recommend you, if you're comfortable with it, putting unilateral cancellations in your agreements, because that's a great out to say, I don't even have to rip it up. You could just absolutely tell me if the contract already allows you. So you don't feel like you're tied in.
That relieves massive amount of pressure.
Yeah.
So as somebody who is different, one of these things is not.
Now,
Okay, so, yeah,
now like furrow your brow, you could be me.
so here's the thing, and I'm gonna. Me, right, I'm sitting at a table and they're like, we need to think about it, right? And this is as opposite of an approach as we can possibly get, and I sign a lot of listings. I'm like, oh my God, heck yeah, you do. And I lean into what they're saying, like, of course you need to think about it. Of course you need to think about it. And so let me ask you this. I do the same thing with the paperwork, and I'll say, here's the deal. You don't have to sign tonight. Of course you need to think about it. Here, I'm gonna leave you these hard copies of all of the paperwork that we will be signing together. And I'm gonna have my assistant email you the forms so that if later tonight you're talking about it, you're like, of course we want to work together, then boom, you can sign it right away and you have the capacity to make that decision whenever you want. But let me just ask you this. When would be a good time to follow up with you that is both so super respectful of your headspace and your process and your thinking? There are so many ways to go.
That is so authentically you and so like, and I'm just like, and I cringe when you said it. I'm like,
When can I follow up with you that is respectful of your timeline and your headspace and also demonstrates that I want to work together? And they tell me when, I put it on my calendar and say, cool, you think about it. And if I don't see your signatures come through or I don't see any questions, then I will call you on this day. And when I call on that day, they're like, oh, we're so glad you called. We haven't seen that signature thing. We lost it in our email, and they sign it right away.
I think this is a perfect point for everyone to take, that who you're sitting across the table with is not me.
Yeah.
Like my personality,
This is
right?
great.
God.
Who you're sitting,
oh, sorry, I said that out loud.
you know what I mean? And so you're attracting people that are similar to you, and you're probably feeling that out during that
But
appointment as well.
what I'm saying is that a lot of times I'm not even trying to overcome the objection. I am like one with the objection, right? I'm like matrixing that shit and like, okay, you need time to think, cool, think. I'm just gonna let that go right over me. And when you think, I am
This is phenomenal vision.
completely confident that you will think I'm the best. And so I just don't even.
And I think of Rick doing that, and I'm like, nope,
So,
Sweet though.
This back though.
Mirroring and matching is absolutely critical. I'm not blessed and fortunate enough to always work with people that I get along with and that I like and that are like me. So if I'm sitting in Linden Hills with a client who needs to meditate and has headspace and those other things, I'm gonna appreciate that, and I'm gonna mirror and match, and I'm gonna act very much like she is.
that's a great point. And to Robin's point is that I think we should also take that a step further. This is all dependent on who this lead is. If this is a past client, if this is a referral from my sphere, I may very well treat that differently than I would have canceled, right? A canceled appointment, a canceled expired, they're getting hammered by agents. You walk out that door without that signature, you got a 25% chance of keeping that.
Can I push on this? So yes, and, right? People want to be heard, they want to be seen. And so this for sale by owner cancel person, you're right, they're getting totally hammered on.
That's right.
And I'm the person that's like, I respect you and your headspace. I'll call you exactly when you tell me.
And to the
time.
people that,
Like, they're gonna be like, oh my God, we love
Right.
her.
so when you think of that plus the mirroring and matching,
Like-
I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm glad this instigated that.
Yeah.
Because if we just break this down, we've only got a couple minutes, there's no point in scripting anymore, I don't think. But I'm not running the show.
Your bell.
But now you are.
We're overriding.
Four very powerful people. Sharon.
Scripts are very important, but you also have to build the foundation up for those scripts. There's mirroring and matching. There's tie downs. There's all sorts of things that we need to be doing. Selling is not telling, it's asking questions. There's all sorts of things we need to be doing to prepare ourselves to properly script with folks. When you and I were sitting across the hypothetical table, I don't know if you noticed, but I did this on purpose because that's what you're doing. I constantly mirror and match. If I know I'm going over to like a powder horn house, I'm not dressing in a 3-piece suit. If I know that I'm going to Edina, I might be, right? It depends where I'm going, how I'm showing up. And I'm very much listening and asking questions to gauge who these folks are so that I can potentially mirror and match. If this is somebody that's going to be in that space that would be much better at the softer touch, of course, I'm not going for the hard kill. But I will say, if you mirror and match with somebody in that space and say, you know what, one of the options is, because I've done this for so many other people, is this, and like we can sign today, a lot of times they're going to take you up on it. Yeah. I would just challenge you to push a little further.
I would just kind of surmise that because you're completely right. Your scripts and scripting and the dialogues and the conversations are not meant to supplant the relationship. They are designed to enhance the relationship that you have and streamline the process and the efficiency by which you do it.
Well, the questions allow the person to let their guard down, right? Like it's you learning more about them versus telling them.
I can't tell you how many times I've been in a listing appointment where the person said they can't make a decision because they're still waiting to interview one more agent that they have.
That was the next one. We should do that one.
Okay.
That's the last one. I will probably list with you, but I'm going to meet with another agent, so I'll get back to you after we're done.
One of these three guys, then just hear
I
that.
completely appreciate that. And you know what? We hear that a lot. And a lot of times when I hear somebody say that, it's because they feel obligated to have that appointment. Is that kind of what's going on here?
Well, yeah, I mean, just like I mean, I've met with someone before you. I felt like I was going to meet with you and give this person a chance. Because I don't know, maybe they have something different.
Well, I tell you what, I feel like we've built some great rapport here. It seems like we're in complete alignment on price and on strategy and how we go out there to the market to get your home sold. What if we do this? I've done this for so many other sellers just like you. What if we go ahead and sign the paperwork tonight so that we work together? And I'll go ahead and I'll call the agent on the way out of here and I'll let them know they don't have to come to that appointment tomorrow because we took over the listing. And I'll even take it a step further. I'll let them know that they can bring any buyers in first before we show it to anybody else. So then if they really do have a buyer, they can also get paid.
Do you think they'd be upset with that?
But that's on me. You wouldn't even have to worry about that. I'll have a conversation. I've done this with so many agents before and we know one another. It's part of our business.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Grace. By the way, if you do that, you have to call that agent.
Yes.
And before, sometimes with the experience, sometimes it's a little bit easier to say, Kimi, if you don't mind, I've been in this business for a long time. I know most of the realtors, especially if you're selling in Edina, it's highly probable I know the person that you've met with. So if you don't mind sharing with me who that is. And then you're like, Scott Kopendriver, you know what? Well, that's not a problem. I'll give Scott a call and just let him know exactly what Graham just said. Because getting that buyer and letting them have an opportunity to get the buyer in too is huge. Because you're not just cutting them off saying, yeah, sorry, dude, you lose, I win. You're actually providing some value to you.
And more often than not, the seller actually says, no, I made the appointment. I will do it. You know, they don't want you to do it. I did it one time. I was just telling him to Joe Cashmore back in the day. And I had a message on my phone when I walked out, like, you son of a gun, give me a call when you're not here. Yeah. So great.
So again, right? I'm the and in this conversation.
From Robin.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I think the reason I'm up here is to triangulate it and that there are a million ways to do this. I'm like, I have won lots of listings up against other agents. And so I just say, yeah, totally. You're going to interview other people. What is most important to you? What are you looking for as you are, like, what are you still looking for? That's what they all say.
Second opinion.
I feel like you changed it though.
Well, there
Like,
were
what
two
was
questions.
important, right? And I would have said that, and then you're like, what else are you looking for? And it's like, they don't know what they're still
You
looking for.
said, what are you still looking for?
Yeah,
That's
that was
still is where
the piece where I was like, I don't know.
That's key.
Right?
Yeah,
So I'm going to be like, yeah, again, I'm going to lean into it. Yeah, you're interviewing other people. I want to know, I'm going to walk away knowing what's most important. I am going to know, like, I have won listing contracts just because I asked that question. So like, what's most important? You're interviewing people, totally, what's most important? And then it's so easy for them to see that. And so I have left unsigned and been like, keep interviewing people. If questions come up after those, call me. I'm happy to make sure, because oftentimes those interviews will, and I just leave and I'm like, they're going to work with me. And I just don't stress about it. I don't try to take them. People want to interview, fine, interview.
Some of the best listing appointments I've had is, I walk in, I say, you know what, I've got a whole presentation here I can show you, but it doesn't really matter if we don't do what you want me to do. So why don't you share, I'm gonna leave this here for you to review, but why don't you just tell me what you.
Yeah, I like that.
And they're like, what? The last guy just came in and talked about himself for 40 minutes.
yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I don't care about that guy. And really, I don't even care about me. This is about you, right? And then they're like, okay, like, it was like,
So
We are at time. Do we have questions? Just, I want to be cautious of time. Do we have questions from anybody in the
I don't know
audience?
if anybody's
or-
monitoring online, if anybody.
Can you see if there's anybody here have questions? Comments?
Cool.
Does anyone have any great scripting around following up with somebody who has an estate? Because obviously it's a very emotional time for them, aside from it being, that they're in a place where they can sell it. How do you follow up with somebody who's in that kind of sensitive position? Because
Yeah.
it's not the hard sell.
So I do a ton of estate stuff. I was blessed with a father who's a real estate attorney, so like a quarter of my business, same probably stuff. And I would say the best script that I've ever used and I've developed and learned it is, you know what? This is a terrible thing that happened, and I want you to know that being the executor on an estate and in charge of what your family has built is the most thankless job in real estate. And you are feeling it, and I know it, and nobody is going to tell you thank you for the work that you're doing right now, but I will. So thank you.
Is this a person?
After that, it's like, holy shit, somebody acknowledged this pain that I'm going through.
Just on a quick follow-up, when there are multiple family members.
Yeah, but one's always the
To
head.
one, and there's two others, and we all have to be on the same page.
Yeah.
How do you orchestrate? Okay, I gotta get the three of you in the room or the three of you on the phone to say.
Yeah.
This is a big question because it depends on the timeline of events here. So to go back to your question, are you asking about how do you follow up in the pursuit of gaining their business? Okay, and have you already spoken to them? I would ask permission and guidance on how they would like to be communicated with.
Absolutely.
Right, and
Altogether.
exactly. Will it be all together? Will there be one person making all the decisions? Is everybody in alignment? When would be the right time for me to call you back? I would ask those questions. I would also normalize, please be prepared. There are people in the market that are going to prey on probate and estates. They just are. You will get phone calls. You will get solicitations for people to buy your home. Those are wholesale buyers. Those are investors. I would very much encourage you to talk to me before you talk to anyone.
And there will be things that your attorney will need in settling the estate. And so if you need a date of death appraisal, if you need any type of valuation or any type of marketing strategy, any timeline, any market references or any market data, please call me first.
Yeah, so I would, again, ask who, how, when, right?
How do you get the multiples?
So,
You're talking to one, and sisters are involved, and you're like, okay, how do I get?
so we're gonna email them, right? And we're gonna figure out a time when works best to Zoom. If they can't all meet in person, there you go, right? Because everybody has access to a computer or a cell phone. And then I'm gonna ask, how do they want to be communicated with? And what's the most efficient way of communicating with them?
Right.
And I'm gonna ask who needs to be included on the communication.
You're talking to me right now. It's like, okay, my sisters are also involved. I'm ready to get the house on the market because mom and dad have passed away. They're a little more hemming and hawing. I think we've got to get some work done. You know, Cindy doesn't really want to do it. Kathy's probably on board. And you got to talk to all three of us. So what is your talk track for that?
My talk track for that is, listen, what's most important to you guys? Speed or money?
Yeah, break it down.
Probably money, but there's some fear involved.
Probably money. Okay. So, whenever you're dealing with this, right, there's significance, what it means to the family.
Yeah.
And then there's sacrifice. Now, I know you guys all have families, right? So how much time and energy and effort are you guys willing to sacrifice to net the most amount of?
So I'm ready to go. They're a little more hemming and hawing.
Sure. So
We gotta figure out all of
Yeah.
mom and dad.
So
stuff.
let's do this. Let's figure out two values. Let's figure out today's value and let's figure out the after repaired value. And we can decide together whether it makes sense to list today or spend time making improvements, watching buyers buy other properties day after day, week after week, month after month of you carrying this on. And more than likely, we'll decide, let's sell it in its as is.
And keep in mind, it is extraordinarily rare that there's multiple family members that are making the decision together because there's going to be an executor. I've done so many of them, and I'd say 90% of them, there's one person that's the lead in the family, even if there's 5. Yeah, they all have to make a decision, but let the lead, you provide the lead with all of the executor, with all the information, and then they convey all that to the family on their time.
I would also say to you, Dave, that it sounds like what I'm hearing you say is you are the executor of the estate. You have the final say and you respect the opinions of your siblings. Would it be beneficial for us to have a brief conversation together so we can show you those two values and show you a path to each one? Would that be something that's beneficial to you?
50% of my dealings is there wasn't one person in charge.
Right.
Maybe been one person in charge of the estate. Real estate side is, oh, I've got a buddy, or yes, I'm ready to go with you, or she's not ready to go. And it's like, okay, how do you coordinate
I
this?
think what they're saying legally, there often is one that has to sign off, but there's multiple people involved in the decision, right? So, and it's almost always works out that one of the siblings doesn't want to buy it, and that's going to be the one that can't afford it.
Yep.
You know, one's going to want to sell it tomorrow. That's going to be the wealthiest one. And then there's going to be somebody that's in the middle that's going to be like, I don't know what we should do. Should we fix it up? And so you kind of do have to have this conversation, go through it like you would with any listing presentation, give those options. They're often going to choose the quickest path. Very rarely are they going to fix something.
It's about 10 after. All of you probably will be open to having emails sent for specific questions for scripting, or just send them to your team leader as well. And those can be topics for other classes. Let's give you guys a round of applause. Thank you.
Hope we don't see each other.